Hello, everyone. I believe that you are all doing fantastic and great today. So, this is our third lesson concerning the essential lessons of the imagination. Um, we have learned the first, which is the power of imagination, where we learned that all things in this world are first imagined before they become what we now call reality. We learned the second one, which is one of the two techniques of imagining. And in this class, we learned how to use our imaginal acts. That's the lesson we learned in the previous class. So in today's class, we're going to be discussing the second technique, which is inner conversations. And may I mention to you that there are only two techniques of using your imagination, no more than that. Now, of course, you may have one or two other things you're doing and they seem to work, but they seem to work because you've already worked one of these two unconsciously. If you don't realize that, one of the things you want to ask yourself right now is that the things that are happening in your life currently, did you imagine them at some time in past in your life? For example, suppose you're going through some hardships, some difficulties. Did you at some time in your life actually imagine that you would pass through these difficulties and then you would rise from the sufferings, the survival, to becoming the hero of the day? Then that's it. You imagined it. You did have the inner conversation that one day you're going to be recognized for being a hero who saved the day concerning that area of your life. Another way you want to ask yourself the question is, what about the amazing, loving, beautiful things you currently have in your life? Did you at some point in time in your life actually imagine that you would enjoy these beautiful, amazing, loving things? If you did, then now you know that you really first imagine everything in your life. No matter what, whether you pray to somebody, whether you do some rituals, or you follow some principles, or you do some writings or scriptings or whatever else you might have done, if you have first imagined the things that currently happen in your life and you can remember that you did really expect them to happen, then you know that it's your imagination that's created all the things you have. So we've learned the first technique of two, and then, like I said, there are two techniques. So the technique today is inner conversations, and I can see someone here who's live with us, and I know that she loves inner conversations. So yes, it is inner conversations. I love this in particular. Well, I think the person that actually sparked my interest in it was Neville. Said this is the hardest thing to do in using our imagination. Hi, Allison, great to have you. So he said it's the hardest thing to do in using our imagination. I remember that day vividly when I was reading it for the first time in the printed materials. So they're not here right now, they're in the other room, but it's similar to the ones I have close to me here. The printed materials on of Neville's lectures, and it was Control Your Inner Conversations. That was what I read. Then he said, if to do were as easy as to know what we're good to do. I want you to listen to this very carefully. If to do were as easy as to know what we're good to do, chapels had been churches, and poor men's cottages had been princes' palaces. I was struck with those words that day. They're actually words of William Shakespeare, and Neville quoted them a lot when he talks about inner conversations. In fact, I don't think I've seen a lecture of Neville where he talks about inner conversations and he doesn't use those words. I think there might only be The Coin of Heaven where he might not have used it, which is a chapter in Our Kingdom Imagination. Besides that, he always emphasizes that if to do were as easy as to know what we're good to do, chapels had been churches, and poor men's cottages had been princes' palaces. That day I sat down with myself and I go, alright, I know what to do. I know I have to control my inner conversations. But to do it is not so easy. Well, that's alright. But what do I really want in my life? Do I want chapels? Or do I want churches, cathedrals? Do I want poor men's cottages, which was clearly where I was living at the time? Or do I want princess palaces? And I sat down myself and I answered it. I no longer want cottages. I want a palace. I'm a king. I no longer want chapels. I want churches. I want cathedrals. That was when I made up my mind that I was going to control my inner conversations. Then he said, now this was still William Shakespeare, so this is how Neville quoted in completion. It says, I can easier teach 20 men what were good to be done than to be one of the 20 to follow my own teachings. That was it for me. I'd been in this particular idea of manifestation, law of attraction, but right from 2020, and I would teach lots of people, this is what you should do, that is what you should do, this is how you should do it. But I really wasn't doing it myself. That was the made up my mind that I would always do it first if I would teach anyone else what to do. And so the first thing I did, of course, was to control my inner conversation. I remember clearly the inner conversation I created at first that day. It was this: isn't it wonderful that I am the inspirational and effortless trillionaire teacher, and here my loving and happy family? You know what? Loving and happy family at the time, the mental image I had about that was a wife with children. I've got the wife, Inspirational and effortless trillionaire teacher. Well, I've got a very amazing coaching career that inspires lots of people, both those who are students learning the law and those, in fact, who never realized they could be teachers until they come across me and they're now teaching. So it works. I know it works. So I'm telling you, I'm not one of the 20. I'm not one of that person who would find it easier to teach 20 men. I'm the one out of the 20. If there's any one person who will do it, I'm the one who follows my own teachings here. And I'm telling you, it's not easy, but it is possible. So we're going to learn how to do it, what to do about it, to control it, and I'll then leave you to practice, to testing it and trying it yourself. So, what is your inner conversation? Well, it's simple. All that you are saying in your mind, in your consciousness, 24/7. We never stop. You may be unaware that you're saying it, but that doesn't mean that you stopped saying it. And this is a simple way to know, because you just realized that you never started saying it. Do you realize that? You never really started saying your inner conversations. It's like you just became aware that you're saying something. It's like you started to listen to yourself. And then at the time you stopped listening again to yourself, you didn't know you're saying it because you're now busy and engrossed with physical things around you. But you're still saying it because when you become aware that it's going on in you, you just started to realize it. It's not that you started to say it, but that you started to listen to what you've been saying. So, you never stop. We never stop. And when people go, there are some schools of teaching that go, control it by silencing that voice. That is arrant nonsense. If you want to silence it, you still have to say to yourself, in yourself, I want this to be silenced. Or you have to say, be silent, be quiet. In other words, you are still engaging this voice in you. That's your inner conversation. That's the speech. That, by the way, is the mouth of God. The mouth of God is the mind of man. Alright? So, our inner conversations, they're actually inner. They're not outer. Because I can be saying all of what I'm saying right now on my lips here, and in my inner conversations, I could really be engrossed with something entirely different from the topic I'm even discussing with you right now. You never know. Maybe I'm just reading what I've written out somewhere to you here, and so in my mind, I'm preoccupied with some other ideas that are not connected with inner conversations, imagination, and so on and so forth. You never know. And I cannot tell what you are also saying in your mind right now, even though I can see you. That's the funny thing. I could be talking with you. We could meet at an event and you go, "Oh, Wadelere, it's so good to see you finally." And you give me a tight hug. And I go, "Yeah, you're welcome. It's so nice to see you. What a pleasure." But in your mind, you might be going, "I hope they're serving us Chapman in this party because I love Chapman." You might be going that to your mind. And you're not really concentrated or focused on the greeting of the moment. That's what we call it inner conversations, because they are really entirely only within. They do not have to be what we see on the outside. In fact, many times they are not what we see on the outside. You can meet a person and you go, "Wow, it's been 2 years, isn't it? George, it's so good to see you again." But in your mind you're going something like, "George, why don't you go to the gym? See, you're getting larger, bigger. What are you doing to your body, George? Could you just avoid me right now?" Inner versus outer, they could be completely disconnected. Now, I'd like to take a lesson out of that for my own self, and it is this. If I could say things that are completely disconnected from the outer ideas I'm communicating, and even the physical experiences in my environment, if I could be having inner conversations that are completely different from that, then I really can control my inner conversations to speak the words that imply I have the wish fulfilled, even if my external world does not conform to my wish fulfilled yet. That's just it. Just means that if I find myself saying, "No, I couldn't control it, I tried everything and it's not working," it's because I'm really interested in saying that to myself in my mind. Not because my physical world is forcing it upon me to say it. Because I can choose. You can choose. And you have chosen several times to say something in your mind that is completely different from what is happening around you. So you are always able to choose your inner conversation and focus on it exclusively, forgetting everything that is going on in your life, and just focus on that exclusively and listen to it and enjoy what you're listening to until it becomes your harvest. Okay? That is what we call our inner conversations anyway. Now, everything in this world, when we say that there is nothing in this world that is now created that did not start with the imagination, what we really mean with that is that everything in this world started with our inner conversations. That's what we really mean. Well, I'll just ask you a question about that, and it's go back to the book of John 1 from verses 1 through 3. It says in verse 1, "In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Then it says, "By him all things are made, and without him was not anything made that was made." Okay, so yes, this Word that is God, alright, is within us. That's Word. It's not physical, it's mental. Okay, you never see, no one has ever seen your inner conversations, right? You've never seen him in physical form. So that's God. You cannot see him. You cannot stop him. You cannot start him either. It's neither created nor destroyed. But there is one thing about it. By him all things are made, and without him nothing has ever been made that was made. And so meaning that if I want to create anything in this world, well, I must start with the inner conversations. Take your visualization. You never really visualize a thing unless you have the inner conversation of, "Oh, that's fine. This is the perfect scene. I'm going to use that. Oh, this is what he's going to say. This is how it's going to look." You're using your inner speech to suggest the visions in your mind. When you want to relax physically, what do? You use your inner conversations to go, "Alright, now I'm going to be relaxed." And then you feel yourself relaxed. It's actually the inner speech that it starts from. You want to do the imagining that you do as you start falling asleep, you still have to use your inner speech to actually go, "Alright, now imagine it. I am this." And then you imagine, you cast the vision into your mind and you begin to enact it. But actually, it started with the inner speech. So if you can control it, just control it, morning, noon, and night, you're going to create what people would call miracles in your own life. So, How do you control it? How can you use it in manifestations? There are 3 steps. Remember, when it comes to Imaginal Acts, there are 4. When it comes to inner speech, there are 3 steps to using your inner conversation as a technique for manifesting your world. The first of the 3 steps is desire. It's always desire. And I mentioned that yesterday in the previous class. I emphasized that you cannot start any conscious transformation in your life unless you start with, what do I want? Not what do people expect me to want. Not what do I think I need right now to escape this current situation, but what do I want that would satisfy me? It's always the case, even with inner conversation. So you start with desire. What do I want? Then once you know what you want, the second step is to create a speech that would imply you already have it. It has to imply you already have it. It's not a speech that would that implies you will have it, but one that implies you have got it. Okay, that's it. But a simple speech, make it as simple as possible. If you can use one word, if just one word would imply it, yes, use one word. But if maybe 5 words or 10 words would imply that you have it, use that 10 words. But I like to say, don't go past 15 words in maximum. Because, well, there's really nothing in this world you want that you can't find a constructive, creative 15-word sentence to imply you already have it. Right? So, you don't have to go past 15 words. If you can, as much as possible, keep it below 15 words. Because it works not by so many words. Right? It's not by vain repetitions or by long, by length of words. Yes, that's how that verse put it in Matthew 6. It works by making it the secret of your heart what the Father within you hears that you are saying in yourself. You can be saying it about anyone in this world. You can even be using any person's voice in this world. But it is in you. And I think I'd like to return to that point of you can use any person's voice in this world just after I've covered the 3 steps. Okay, so the second step is that you create a simple speech that implies you already have it. Now, I know a couple of principles that would help you be effective in creating the speech. By the way, this is your only task. To create the speech and to fire your imagination with it is your only task. These are the words Neville used in The Coin of Heaven, Awaken Imagination, chapter 5 of that book, The Coin of Heaven. It says, our task is to get the right sentence, the one that implies the wish is fulfilled, and fire the imagination with it. And I go, okay, my task is now to look up who is the person that would sign up in my coaching program right now. My task is not to go and hunt for the students. My task is not to create a perfect pitch marketing strategy. My task is to create a speech that implies the wish is fulfilled and fire my imagination with it. This is my task. Okay, what am I doing? So I just started doing it. And you know what happened? I started hearing people. This was my own inner speech for having students. I started hearing people say, I'm so excited that I've just registered in your course. And then I go, you're welcome. Instead of me trying to say, well, join my program, I have this. I started hearing people say in my box, hearing people message me and go, hey Adere, I've signed up right now. Hey Adere, I've just made a payment. Hey Adere, I've just registered into your course. And that's exactly what began to flourish in my life. It works that way. So, what are the simple principles you can use to make an effective inner conversation for yourself when it comes to creating it? The second step, right? These are the techniques in the second step. Now, the principles, rather, the first of the principles is that it has to be attention grabbing. You see, your inner speech, what you're saying is where your attention really is in your mind. And you want something that is powerful enough to grab your attention like that from anything that goes on in this world, so that you can be able to turn it within into your own consciousness. Okay, so that's why you want something that is attention grabbing. Now, answer to me, which of these two is more attention grabbing for you? First one, in 1499, when Prince Charles of England and Wales died. Well, that was sounding boring, right? The next thing you're waiting for is, what is the exciting thing about this? Adelore, tell me now. Otherwise, you'd zone out. But let's say I use this. I go, did you know what happened to Prince Charles in 1949? You're going to be interested, even though you didn't know Prince Charles, and so on and so forth. You're going to go, tell me what happened. You might even feign the interest, but you'll still be curious to know what actually happened. It's simple, because you don't want to be asked a question and found that you don't know the answer. You want to feel important knowing the answer to a question. That's why questions are more attention-grabbing than just mere statements. And there are many other ways you have attention-grabbing sentences or structures, such as exclamations. Say you're walking on the street, and then just opposite the street, someone said, wow, and you heard that. What do you think you're gonna do? Stop in your tracks, look at them, go, what happened? Why did they say wow? Or say you're working at your desk, and then someone opposite to you, opposite your office, at your colleague's office said, thank you very much. What do you think you're gonna do? You're going to raise your head out of however busy you are, look at them and go, what's the thank you about? You're interested. Those are naturally attention grabbing. There are a couple of other ideas that are attention grabbing expressions, okay, that you can use, such as question tags, such as exaggerations, and such as suspicions. Okay, but attention grabbing, that's the important thing. The second principle is that it has to be natural in conversations. I mean, how many times have you read privacy policies or terms and conditions? Very rarely. And in cases where you read it, perhaps because you're opening an account with a particular bank, or perhaps because you're signing a contract where it is very important, it's about money, real money, where you have to make an exchange. But you don't read manuals, right? You don't read manuals. You don't read privacy policies. You don't read terms and conditions. Not so often. Not unless it is something serious about your life. But you find yourself reading Facebook posts, right? You find yourself reading blog posts and captivating articles, news posts that are captivating, especially if they start with any of those questions. Who is going to win the war in these elections? The returning president or the promising candidate? You're going to find yourself wanting to read what is returning, what is promising, and so on and so forth. You find yourself interested in such conversations because they are natural, but not legal terms, and so on and so forth. So you want to find something that is natural. That means something that you can normally say to yourself or with someone else on a daily basis. That's second. The third is that it has to match your wish fulfilled. Not something that promises you're going to have it. No, but something that means you already have it. That is how you want your inner speech to be constructed. I remember sometime last year, a friend reached out to me and she said she's got a lot of things manifested in her life, but right now she would like a job and she hasn't got it. And I go, okay, tell me what have you been imagining? So she said, I went to the interview, so I'm imagining that it sent me a mail saying, congratulations, that was such a great interview. We would like to offer you. I said, nah, that missed the mark. I didn't even complete reading it. I said, nah, that missed the mark. What do I mean that missed the mark? Then I said, well, because it implies they will give you the job. But of course, they love to interview. But I want to ask you a question. Is it about you having a great interview or about you having the job? Which one mattered to you? She said a job. I said, all right, so if that's the case, now imagine an email that says, congratulations, we are so happy that you are working with us. Or congratulations, we give you the job. So she imagined something along the lines of that. And 2 weeks later, she came back and she said she got a job. You know what? That was October. In December, she would like to switch to something higher. So she imagined something similar. And then she told me, she sent me a message early in January. She said, I got another job, a better one. That's just it. It works. But you want to imagine something that implies your wish is fulfilled. Something of I have or I am. Not something of I will be or something of I do so that I can get. No. But something of I have or I am. Alright? I am a billionaire. I have billions. Any of those two work for a person who has the desire to be a billionaire. You can then spice it up with either a question or an exclamation, such as, isn't it wonderful that I am a billionaire? Or, isn't it amazing that I have billions? Or, how did I get so lucky to have so many billions? Do you realize all of these naturally arouse your desire? You feel interested in listening to such kind of expressions. Alright? Then finally, your inner speech has to be spoken in your imagination. Just inwardly, like inner. You know, my wife here, she could hardly tell when I'm using my imagination to imagine something loving. Unless when I'm doing the SAT, which is the technique we learned yesterday. Unless for that, if I'm using my inner speech, she wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. We would be together in the same location, at the same place, the same time. You would see me to your face, but you wouldn't know that I'm actually not there with you. I am present with my wish fulfilled. That is the word inner. Neville says, speak it in imagination only. Let me repeat those words. Speak it in imagination only. So when I say it on my lips, is that in imagination? Clearly not. Right? I'm to speak it in my mind only. That's it. Our task is to get the right sentence, the one that implies the wish is fulfilled, and then fire the imagination with it. So once you constructed a sentence that implies you have it, something so simple, but at the same time, that really means you have it already. Then you go to the third step, which is for you to practice it. Practice it morning, noon, and night. Okay, we have a good question here. I'll listen. Why only in imagination? Well, the answer is simple, and I already mentioned it earlier. And it is that you can be deceitful if it is not just in your imagination you're speaking it. I can be saying all of what I'm saying so far. And I've been saying stuff so far, right, all the way from in the last maybe 20 minutes or something. But you don't really know what I'm saying in my mind, do you? No one knows. If I count on all I'm saying on my lips to be what I'm saying in my mind, I'm deceiving myself. Because I could be saying something entirely different in my mind. And in fact, be completely unaware of what I'm saying in my mind. Whereas I could, let's say I write an affirmation out. I have a Ferrari, and then I'm reading that. I have a Ferrari, and I'm reading it on my lips or doing affirmations. I have a Ferrari, I have a Ferrari. But in my mind, I could be going, am I sure of that? Where is it going to come from? Who is going to give me a Ferrari? I think I should make up to $2 million in my business before I buy myself a Ferrari. Nah, Ferrari is not the next thing for me. How do you even expect to use a Ferrari in this neighborhood? And so on and so forth. So in my mind, I may never really be assuming that I have a Ferrari. And I could be affirming it for like 2, 3, 5 hours. And when a person goes, yeah, I did the affirmations 247 and it worked. It's not the affirmations that worked. It is that at some point in time, when you're doing it, in your mind, you're also able to fuse with it. You're able to actually control your inner speech to believe that you have it. Okay, we have another question here. Saying it in imagination, do you mean being in the scene in vivid pictures? No. When you're doing your inner conversations, you don't need to have the pictures in your mind. In fact, if you want to use your inner conversations in the most effective manner, don't you have an imaginal act with it? Yes, that will be the most effective manner. But then, that takes a lot more discipline to control it. However, when I say this is the most effective manner, is because, number one, your inner speech itself can create an imaginal act for you. For anyone here who has practiced your inner conversations consistently 247 for as long as you can, for as much as you can, frequently, you discover that at some point in time, whether in your dreams or just in the day-to-day life, you suddenly have a vision, like a snapshot of something that really means you have your wish fulfilled. That is the imaginal scene. Your inner speech created it. So you don't need to create an imaginal scene with your inner speech. But if you want to use both of them together, it works. Sometimes, in fact, the composition you use in your imaginal act could be a sufficient inner speech on its own also. So, when we say it in imagination only, we mean you could, as I'm speaking right now, I could hear the voice in my mind. And this voice is speaking to me. And the voice is saying, I have a beautiful Ferrari. I have a luxurious Ferrari. And it's saying it in my mind. I can hear it. No one else can, but I can. It is vivid. It is clear. I listened to it, so I could hear it. That's what we mean by speak it in imagination only. Okay? Then the third of the 3 steps in this technique, the third step is that you speak it frequently and habitually. Especially when you're falling asleep at night and when you wake up in the morning. But hey, listen, you can do it any time of the day. In fact, you can do it just as you're gardening. You can do it as you're doing the dishes. You can do it as you're talking to your friends. You can do it, those times when you're commuting and you have nothing you're thinking seriously and your mind is wandering from left to right to front to back. You can do it. Right? In fact, do it. Don't just can do it. Don't just be I can do it, because that is, well, the one person who can more easily teach 20 people what to do than to be one of the 20 to do it, to follow his own teachings. Rather, do it. And then when it is done, you can then go, oh, I did it, now I know I can. Okay? So, speaking about voices, you have infinite voices in your mind. It is one voice. It is the voice of the Lord. The mind of man is the voice of the Lord, right? It's the mouth of the Lord. It's one voice. But listen, this particular voice in you is a pure actor. You could be reading a novel, and the novel has Michael, has Jane, has Alice, and has George as the characters. Now, tell me if this is not true. The funny thing is that you have a particular voice for Michael, and this voice is not the same voice that you have for Jane. Michael and Jane do not speak the way that Alice and George speak. In fact, Michael and George are males. Both of them do not speak the same way, even though they are male. Have you realized that? Okay, but all these voices are where? They are right within you. You read a novel and you could hear what Michael is saying when Michael is the one speaking. And perhaps when you're reading what Michael is saying, you might be thinking what Jane would say next, and you could actually hear Jane's voice immediately in your mind. Going, oh, Jane is not going to like that. And you go, Jane would say, come on, keep quiet, don't say that anymore to me. Okay, and then you read Jane's response, and you heard it in Jane's distant voice. Hey, listen, first of all, you're reading a work of fiction. Fictional characters. But you created voices for them in your mind. So don't you tell me that there is someone's voice in this world you can't hear. You can hear anybody's voice if you would make it up. And you don't even have to hear their voice the exact way it speaks to you physically. You can hear their voice the way you want to represent it to yourself in your imagination. All that matters is that you know, I'm using this person's voice. I'd like to share a story here. In October last year, I think it was late September, I had this mastermind group of amazing friends, and we would speak every week of the things that we would like to have, the things we'd like to achieve, the things we've done in imagination, and how it's coming forth and what's happening so far. Now, I don't like to talk about what is happening, like movements. I don't care about movements. Give me the results, forget about the signs. I care for the results more than the signs, because I enjoy the results, and the signs I don't enjoy. So this is what I did. I told them, I said, I'd like to have 8 students. Yeah, I think it was 8 students, maybe 8 or 12, I've forgotten. like to have such a number of students in October. And then they said, oh, that would be nice. What are you doing? What are you going to imagine? I said, well, I think I'm going to imagine, and in a conversation that I got these students. I didn't tell them that I would actually be using their voice to imagine it. So what I did was, after the call that day, I relaxed, and then I brought up the voice of two of them. I know their voice distantly, so I brought up their voices again. Then I heard them saying, wow, congratulations, you got the number of students you aimed at getting. That's amazing. I heard it from the first person and I heard it from the second person. Both of them simultaneously, because it's the same meeting, right? So I heard it from them one after the other in the same meeting in my imagination. That was September, and I really didn't know how I was going to get the students. As I've just told you right now, it's no longer in my habit to have to chat someone up and go, hey, you have to get into my class. No, you must have shown interest first. I can offer you once you've shown interest, but you show interest first. So what happened was, by the second week, I got all 8 students. In fact, out of the students I wanted, they made up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They made up 5. Yes, 12 students. They made up 5 out of the students that I wanted for that month. They registered, signed up, became students with me. Then, when it was the second week, I told them, I said, you know, I already got this number of students in this month. Guess what they said? They said, congratulations! Exactly what I heard late September. It works that way. My proposal in October, I did use my sister to imagine it. I heard a voice. I heard her saying, congratulations, you had such a royal and prosperous, a royal and successful proposal. I heard her saying that. I heard her saying that to me frequently. I tried to bring the scene up, but I wasn't really, it was fuzzy, so I just dropped the scene altogether. Just simply continued to hear it. I tell you, I must tell you, I didn't know how the proposal was going to happen, but it's happened. And it happened fantastically. And she said it at the end of the proposal. She was there. She was the one who, in fact, organized it. She planned it. She brought everything together. The team, the people that did the video and all of those things, the place we used, she arranged everything. I just financed it. And the finances themselves, I didn't know where they were going to come from, because at the time, my money was stuck in the bank. I had lots of money, but it didn't reach to me. But I got it, and I got it done, and it was amazing. So it works. I know it works, because I have so many experiences I can keep sharing with you here and there, on and on. But this is what I'm going to tell you. First, make up your mind that you're going to control your inner conversations. If there are only 10 people in this world of a million, of 8 billion, 10 people that will be able to control their inner conversations in and out every moment, completely. Commit to yourself that you're going to be the first of this 10. Alright? Don't even listen to that Adelere said, yeah, he's now so good at controlling. Make that commitment for your own self that I'm going to be the first of the 10. And may I tell you, you can do wonders with this. For example, if you have a business, one of the things I think that a business person should do when they wake up in the morning is not to rush to set out their to-do list. All today, I want to do X, I want to do Y, I want to do Z, I want to call this, I want to go that. No, I don't think that's what you want to do. I think what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, what are the things I would love to see achieved today? Would I love to have more customers in? Would I love to see more sales? Would I love to make some revenue? Would I love to have some positive reviews? What are the things you would like to have? Anything. It can be anything, okay? But then you ask yourself, what are the things I would love to have? Let's say more revenue, more customers in. So then, what would I hear from people? Not one specific person, but from people that would imply I got more customers in. Then I'll simply hear it. Something such as, I'm so happy to patronize you again. Oh, take note of the word. So happy means they're satisfied. To patronize you means they paid. Again means they are recurring, right? They've been paying again and again. They're coming back again and again and again. And so you just relax. In the morning when you wake up, before you step out of your bed, or just after your breakfast, or before you go out into these activities, take a minute to relax. Just some 10 seconds, 15 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. But if you can, just listen to it. Now, one thing you'd find when you start to control your inner conversations is that it is an unruly animal. Well, say child, an unruly child. Wild. It can go here and there. You could want to just listen to, I am so happy to patronize you again. But before you complete happy, you found yourself talking about, oh, what is it going to do? Where is it going to come from? Which product is it going to buy? I think I should sell him this. I'm not sure that they're going to buy it. Okay. When you see your mind drifting into all of those things, something like, is it even worth it? Are they going to buy the product? Do I have something that I can offer them? Drop that. Just drop all of it as if it's irrelevant and go back to the very thing you've committed your mind to do. Remember, you are controlling your inner speech. So you just go back to it. I am so happy to patronize you. Oh yeah, I love horses. Horses are so great in this world. That's your mind doing it, right? Hold it right there. Go back. I am so happy to patronize you again. Complete it. And once you complete it, go back again. I am so happy to patronize you again. Then maybe the third time you're trying to do it, I am so happy. Then you go, ah, that box was expensive. Why did I pay that much for it? Hold it. Stop that. Drop it. Go back to, I am so happy to patronize you again. It's that simple. And then you do it until your attention will not wander. Until it will stay on the same idea completely. Like fixed on it. This is how I like to, this is the mark I love to reach when I'm controlling my inner speech on anything in this world. If I really mean to manifest it, I ask myself this. This is my aim. I'd go, I am going to hold it until it holds me. Listen to that very carefully. I am going to hold this inner conversation until this inner conversation is the one holding me. Until it is what anchors me to life. I'm going to anchor myself to it until it anchors me to life. Neville does mention that to be held by the inner speech of the wish fulfilled is to be safely anchored in life. And so I go, wait, at the beginning, it started with, this is in Coin of Heaven, chapter 5, Awakened Imagination. At the beginning, it started with, persuasion is an inner effort of intense attention, to be, to listen attentively to what you wish to hear, and this and that and the other, and he said, hold it and create this task. But then he got to this point, he said, to be held by the inner speech of the wish fulfilled is to be safely anchored in life. And I go, okay, I don't know where this is it. From now on, when I want to manifest anything, I am going to hold it until it holds me. Until I don't have to make any effort to control it in my mind before it suddenly springs of its own self. And when it does, I can just relax with my life and go on to the next desire I want to manifest. And may I tell you, it works. I do manifest those things at that time. So we have a question here. As I am manifesting a certain amount of money to cover up a lot of my problems, is it wise to manifest money or see my problem solved? Well, let me answer this way with a question to you first, and it's this. Suppose all of the problems are solved, would you still want money? If your answer to that is yes, then you simply want to manifest money for money's sake. In other words, money because you want money in your life. Period. Now, whether you have money or you don't have money, would you be happy if your problems are all solved? If your answer to that is also yes, then you simply want to manifest that you are free. You're a free man, free from the shackles that have held you in the past. Okay? So those are two independent desires. What I see that you've done here is you've thought money can provide you the solution to the problem, but money cannot. Nothing in this world can give you the solution to the problem. And if you think I'm joking about that, if anyone here thinks that, oh no, that's not true, if you have money you can solve anything in this world, I'll just ask you a question. Have there been times you want to settle some debts, you want to pay some loans back, And then you thought, oh, it's that money, that big money I'm expecting. If that money comes, I'm going to pay all these loans and clear all those debts. And then you get the money, the big money you've been expecting. Now, question, did you actually clear the debts completely? If the answer is no, now you know that money is not the solution. Your imagination is the solution. So use your imagination to actually imagine you're free from the problems. And then on the other end, use your imagination to also imagine that you have lots of money in your life. Can you do the two of them together? I just told you right now that you're holding your inner conversations 2-4-7. You never stop. You hold it morning, afternoon, night. That means if you are not manifesting something consciously, then your mind is simply rambling around things that are not necessary. So you can manifest 20 things in a single day. Just you either will structure it by going in the morning, between this time and this time, I'm going to simply focus my inner speech on this, and I'll keep it going on in my mind. I won't focus on anything, not even the things I want. So when you're manifesting the money, for example, you're just going to go, it's all going to be about the money, not even about the problems. I'm not going to think about anything else. Just, wow, I am so rich. Just that. And then you do it, maybe at breakfast. Then maybe when lunch comes, you go on to the problems. Then you're going to imagine, I feel relieved that I am now free of all problems in my life. Or I feel relieved that I now have a beautiful life with ease. And then you imagine that all through afternoon. Even when it's dinner time, you're just going to imagine something else that you really want in your life. You can do this. All of this are not, there are really no rules concerning how many things you can manifest and so on and so forth. But I like to say, for the first time when you begin to control, for the first time, focus on just one desire, just one. And tell yourself for the next 2 weeks, 14 days, I'm not going to imagine any other thing, no matter how tempting it may be. I'll only invest my inner speech on hearing that this one thing in my life is done. And then for those 14 days, you're going to do it morning, afternoon, and night. Now, before I go, may I mention a simple technique that involves a little of physical practice, but it is all still mental, that you can use to control your inner speech. You could learn the usefulness of this technique from this lecture. Control your inner conversations. Yes, that's when Neville mentioned it. He mentioned that you cannot read a thing to understand it and not mentally repeat it. So he goes, you could see a person reading the newspaper, and he may not be saying anything on his lips, but mentally he is inwardly repeating what he reads, otherwise he cannot understand it. Then he emphasized that Victor Goddard actually read his name on the signpost, right, for the family business, and he would mentally repeat in himself, it is my business, every day, morning and evening, for 2 years, and then he got it. At the end, just look at the story of how we got it. That felt to me like one of the most magical, amazing things that could happen. Someone just walks into your store, and without you having any evidence of being successful at business, you've been run out of business, you have no collateral, you have no success, no title, nothing, and he says, I'm going to drop $50,000 of my money for you to acquire this business, and can pay me back over 10 years, and all I require from you is just a signature. Do you know what that sounds like? That sounds like, what? But that happened. So, this is the simple technique. I'd ask myself, what do I want? So you ask yourself, what do I want? Then you specify that one thing you want, whatever it is. Let's say it is, let's use this desire. I want to see all my problems solved, okay? So I want all my problems solved. Put it in a more positive, in a more empowering, positive idea. You could express it like this. I want to see my life free and at ease, right? That could be it. Or something such as, I want to be a free human being. So let's use that. I want to be a free human being. Now, what would be the inner speech to imply I already have that? Well, can I wonder about it if I'm really a free human being? Can I say, I am a free human being? Yes, I can. Okay, so I'm just going to go, isn't it wonderful that I am free? That's it. Isn't it wonderful that I am free? That's just 8 words, right? Then I'm going to write it out somewhere where I can easily read it morning and night. It could be in a note, but if it's in a note, that note is going to be by my bedside, so that whenever I wake up in the morning, I can just take it out first in the morning. Just take it out. No thinking, no having to sit down and do meditation, no having to prepare the place, no having to get into the right time, no having to wake up at the right time, wrong time, anything. Just bring it out and read it. Or if it's my phone, of course my phone, then I can easily just scroll over it and see. Then I would read it. Now, not reading as in, isn't it wonderful? No, remember, it has to be spoken where? In your imagination only. I can be reading it on my lips and not mean what I'm reading. You've done it before. You've read something out loud to people in public, right? And you're reading it to all of them, but you're not following what you're reading. You're only saying the words. So it's not that. You're going to read it in your mind. What that does is that it makes you have the ability to focus on the attention within, rather than having to focus on both, trying to get the words together and also to make sure that your attention is focused within. So you can just focus on feeling the idea that you're reading in yourself. You'll listen to it as you read it in your mind repeatedly. You read it a couple of times in one sitting. You can sit down with it again in the day, read it again, repeat it. At night, repeat it, and then that's it. That is how it works. And I must tell you, I got every fantastic result that are the most mind-blowing ones in my life by controlling my inner conversations. Now, when you first start, I've warned you earlier, and I'm warning you again. You're going to discover, it's a discovery. You're going to discover that you've had unloving, very terrible, or terrifying inner conversations in yourself. Arguing with people, fighting them, trying to prove yourself right, trying to prove them wrong, trying to be the hero to save the day, wondering who did something wrong, something right, or they could have done it better. Don't despair when you find these things. They have been your habitual, automatic way of speaking in yourself to yourself. And that is why you've had all the slowness or struggle in your life. So, rather than trying to fight it or going, I'm not doing this right. Nah, just repeat the practice. Take note of this. It is the, this is how I never put it. I want to really remember exactly how we put it. It is the frequency, yes. The habitual occupancy. Those are the words he used. It is the frequency, the habitual occupancy that would externalize the state in your world. So I'm going to repeat it again and again. Even though the mind goes this way, I'm going to bring it back to what I'm reading and focus on it and repeat it. The mind could go there, I'm going to bring it back. As I make this new inner conversation my habit, the whole habit of thinking and arguing are actually going to fall off on their own. So I don't have to try to stop them. I only have to learn to speak a new tone. This is what the Bible means by a new tone. Okay? This is what the Bible really means by a new tone. So when the Spirit of the Lord comes upon you, that is, when you have a desire and your heart is now restless until you can achieve it, until you find it realized in your world, well then, speak a new tone. Don't speak in the old ways anymore. Then speak the wonderful works of God, how you already have it, how you already are the person you'd like to be, or how you already have what you'd like to have in your life. And it is done. Alright, so our next class is going to be on the 3 techniques, or rather, the 3 processes, the 3 processes by which we can use our imagination, which are self-concept, revision, and inner conversations. And that would be, well, I'll announce the time the class is going to be holding sometime tomorrow. Until then, have a great time, everyone. Bye-bye.